The first question, I think it's probably a natural question for the film. It's a very unusual setting. It's not something we see on screen a lot. So can you talk about what attracted you to write the script and direct a movie set in the Navy, and then the research you had to do for this?
Well, I really wanted to do something about this precise moment in life when you're not exactly an adult yet and not a child anymore. And I wanted to focus on this really moment from innocence to experience, how you become a woman. As you would say to boys, later on you'll be a man. For a woman, you never really say it, but we should. We also become girls, we become women in a large sense of the word. Anyway, and I wanted to do this educational journey for her, and I thought that the best formation would be a military school, actually. And so I started thinking about these institutions, and then the Marine became obvious because it first of all, it's in France, the most beautiful army, the costumes, the uniforms. But really, the fact of setting it in the French Navy, in the Navy, is because it brought romance, as you say in French, romanesque, to the situation. Because it's for me, it was a totally mysterious world, totally unknown. I had to learn everything just like her. And it has this way of it's very codified language that makes you want to master it and understand how it works. And that's what I call romanesque. And definitely the uniform, the values of the Marine are things that for me are very moving and touching and interesting to understand. And I think you mature, you grow up learning how all this works even more than in real life, and then I'm finished. But the other thing is that behind the uniform, there are women and men that cannot show their emotions, of course, and because of the military engagement makes you have to hide your emotion, and precisely I felt close to them because I recognize myself in that. So that's a mixture of reasons.
All of these are very good reasons. You just mentioned like hiding your emotion, but there's a lot of things I think that you do with the script too. It's not only hiding the emotion, but it's also a lot of hiding the background of the characters. So there's no really psychological explanation for why she joined, a relationship with the monk, and I think it's really beautifully done, and it really transcribes from the script to the print, to the film. So is that something you could talk a little bit more about, like your decision to just like write on that level without the background?
Well, first, thank you for telling me that. Yes, it's the kind of movie that I like to see as a spectator. I like when you don't give explanations. I don't like it when you take this audience with the hand and explain everything. I think I make film. It's only my second feature movie. I make films because I try to understand the world, how it works, how relationships between people work. And so I don't have the clue. I keep asking questions through the films and trying to investigate that. And so the less information you give, of course, the more I think makes you want to try to understand even more where this thing come from. And the empathy with yourself is stronger if no answer is given. You can identify, I think, more if there are questions, open questions, for instance, at the end, what exactly happened between them. I do not give the answer because I think the people who watch the movie can find the answers inside of themselves and remember feelings that they have felt and oh yeah, that was something close to that. And I don't like to give answers. And Lambert Wilson used to say that this film is like a Japanese film, that very slow, no explanation. Made me laugh.
I'm sure you meant it as a compliment.
I think so.
Since you mentioned Lambert Wilson, we talk a little bit about the casting of the film? Diane Rouxel is really wonderful. She's very luminous. She also reminds me a little bit of you as an actress in some of your earlier roles. And so can you talk about why you chose her and also the chemistry that she has with Lambert Wilson and everyone else? I mean, Alex Descas, and we need more of Alex Descas on screen.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's true. Well, it was, of course, this story is about, I think author films are very personal films. French author films, I mean, all films d'auteur are very personal. So definitely it's also my story. And when I was 20, I felt like that. I felt a bit lost, not knowing what to do in life. And so, anyway, it was, for me, to choose being myself an actress, I was very precise in what kind of face, I would say, I wanted. I don't think she's close to me, but what is close is that she doesn't show very much her emotions. She's very an inside actress. I really wanted a virgin face because she had to be this innocent little thing that blossoms and becomes this, I think, beautiful young woman at the end of the film. So I would look up the girls. So I didn't want a known French actress. So I looked up the girls in the streets, and I just to find a face. Not I wanted an actress, but I needed to find a face, kind of face that had innocence and also something. And I found her in a magazine, and I saw the picture of her, and I said, "Oh, exactly this kind of face." And then I realized that she was an actress, and I saw the films that she had done, and then I said, "Okay, bingo, it's her." And we didn't test anything. Being myself an actress, I know that an actor, if he's strongly desired by the director, he'll give the best of what he can give, I think. Whereas Lambert Wilson, I really wanted a sort of, not famous, but a recognizable figure in French cinema. And plus, he's so handsome, and he's just the perfect, I think, officer. So it was a dream come true when he said yes to the script.
He's very charismatic.
He's very.
And they do have a wonderful chemistry together. And
yes,
also,
yes.
I like it because you never really know
definitely
which way it's going to go, and it's not obvious despite the attraction.
And we even speak about the Alex Descas, who plays Albertini, the instructor. I wanted another way of being a man that would be in contrast with Lambert. And so I like the fact that Alex is also a very handsome man. But I asked him to exteriorate. I don't know. Is it exteriorate?
We
Well,
cannot
anyway.
say it, but you know what we mean.
Exterioriser, which
Yes.
would go from. All right.
Yes.
More than he's used to do as an actor, and he liked it very much. Because he's a much more shy actor than he is in the film, introverted actor. And I like the way his virilité, I don't know how do you say that, his manhood, his masculinity. And I like the contrast. I like pretty, handsome faces, so I just try to choose handsome actors.
Okay, it works. He has a really interesting elocution also in the film, which I don't think I've heard him speak like this in other films.
It was a very difficult exercise for him. He did really a very good job, and very subtle. And he plays an important character in this triangle relation. It's like he's the storyteller in some way, and that's how he puts them together. When he gives all this speech in the car, it's a matter to get them close. And it's obviously the story he's saying is full of erotic illusions, and it creates an embarrassment between the two of them. And definitely when he decides not to go in the car on the way back, he does it on purpose, obviously. I think he understands very well his friend. That's why he calls him the monk, and saying that, well, the monk is the guy who, after 5 months of operation, does not touch the girl.
There's also a wonderful sentence that I don't know if you wrote it specifically, well, probably, when the monk at the beginning said, you don't like me, I don't like you either.
It's an homage to Maurice Pialat, who says, vous ne m'aimez pas, et bien je ne vous aime pas non plus. So French people in the movie know that. And I like very much this sentence because it's very mysterious what he meant, I think, Pialat at that moment. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a cry for love in a denegating, I don't know if you say denegation in English, when you say the opposite. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, and it's fully charged with the thirst for love. Actually, you don't. Maybe I should have translated. You don't like me, I don't like you either. He put dislike. It's not perfect.
Did you work on the subtitle?
Yeah. He's a very good translator or subtitle.
Maybe we can ask questions to the audience. I think we have microphone, correct? Yes. Okay.
Will you discuss how important it was for her to prove herself to the monk, just as it was for her to prove herself in the discipline of training, sort of those parallel having to prove herself, and in becoming a woman, were they equally important, or what role did proving herself to him play in that? That's a double-edged question, if you got it all. Thank you.
Well, I think precisely becoming an adult is realizing how life is, reality is more complicated than when we were kids and innocent. Innocence goes away through experience, and experience is sometimes, by definition, is difficult. So to answer your question, it's both, and that's the complicated thing. It's the fact that it's for both reasons, and that the both reasons make her a woman is what I call experience. It's harder than only one reason, but typically in this case, she wants to do this training not because it's not that she really wants it. She doesn't know what she wants. I mean, the psychoanalysts always teach us that you never know what you want exactly. It would be too easy. You feel that you're thirsty, so you drink, but that's something else. But what does it mean, I want something? It's very complicated. Anyway, so she does this, she wants to do this training because of him, because she wants him to say no, I think. There's something transgressive, I don't know if you, in this scene, and that brings an erotic thing inside, but they're not aware of it. It happens unaware. They're both unaware of that. And I don't know if I answered your question, but I think growing up is really finding that the path of life are even more sinuous than you imagined they would be. And for me, the exact scene that shows that she became an adult in terms of women is when there's this exercise at the end, and she realizes it was only an exercise. And for me, it's terrible because she realized that reality is no more, is so complicated. It's la fin des illusions. It's the end of
illusions.
illusions, growing up, it's the end of illusions. So she thought it was true, and it's not true, and so, wow, that's life. And anyway, so I don't know. I answered to a lot of questions.
There's someone here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's for everybody to
It's right
listen
there,
to, yeah.
so they can hear you in the back too.
What is the main character's status?
You have to speak in the mic.
What is her status in the Navy? I understand she's not committed to a career yet.
Well, in France, you have contracts. It's volunteer contracts when you engage and join the Navy. Depends on then the choices that you made. You can renew your current contracts. So she has a first-year contract, and she can renew for 3 years and 5 years. The perfect rules, my military advisor would be the best to answer here. But then in terms of realism at the end, I was very precise. It does exist, the French commandos, the special forces, special ops, Marines. There are no women who have what we call the green beret, but because that's only for the special forces. But as I explain in the film, and it's the truth, you can be support, operational support, and they need specific persons who know how to do the radio to be translators. And they do this first 2 weeks training, and they can go on operations and follow with the special forces and go. It happens. And they do have a beret, but there's a very great difference that the military, the Navy military, know. It's something different in the écusson, the badge, or whatever you call it. And she could stay in the Marine, and she could leave. And, I mean, I leave it open at the end. I think it's very difficult. He leaves. He leaves the Marine, the force, and then she stays. So it's like if she was in a prison at the end, some sort.
I'm sure her parents would be happy if she leaves.
No, I don't think so. No, they're proud of
got
her,
used to it.
and they're right to be proud of her. There's another question.
Yes, there's a question here. And the microphone will come behind you.
A lovely film,
Thank you very much.
At the very end of the film, at the reception, Midshipman Baer, father leaves, and then the commander approaches, but you hold the camera on her face in an almost Chaplain-esque way for quite a while. And I'm just wondering what that was like. Was it hard for her to pull that off, or did you have to have a lot of takes to make it work? Did it just come together easily?
Thank you very much for this question, because it's very precise, the fact that I wanted to stay on her and just feel in her eye what she was seeing, and in her heart, of course, and then see the shadow of his back coming in the frame. Well, she's a very brilliant actress, I must say, and first take, it was perfect. And I think the one that I chose is a first take, and then I had like a 3 or 4 just for the fun, and I could really... But I did try editing. It's the magic of editing, is that you do, even though you thought during this shooting that you would stay on her, you always try the other option in case it works better another way. So I did have an editing with on her, on him, on her, but it was. I didn't even try 5 seconds. I said, no, I stay on her. It's much more important. And well, so no, she's brilliant, and I'll tell her that you said that she deserves it. Over there.
There's a question there.
Is there some significance to the recurrence of Clementines throughout the entire movie? It can't be just that you were short of props.
Thank you. I love it when this question comes up. Of course, there's everything that you see in the movie. There's a reason. Well, it's like what we say. It's for different reasons. But the truth is when you go and have lunch at the cafeteria, it's frequent that you bring back fruits because the military do that. But precisely, it's because I wanted to put a touch of color in these frames that are sort of not cold, but like very kind of clinical. And I wanted this touch of color, like on a nature morte, painting. That sometimes there's a touch of color on the fruit that brings the eye on the painting. But definitely, it's more like a psychoanalytic reason. It's what we call the transitional object between them. So it's also the defended fruit. How do you say? Défendu? Forbidden fruit.
Forbidden fruit, yeah.
You call
The new apple.
the new apple. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons, but the one I like to give, is because of the film My Darling Clementine.
There's someone in the back there, please.
Again, thank you very much for bringing this film here.
Thank you.
It's absolutely brilliant. But I have another specific question, and that is taking birth control pills without interruption in order not to have a period.
Yes.
Is that a common thing in the military? And two, is there some significance also that she wants to not to have
Her period.
a period?
Thank you for the question. It's not common in the military more than, I don't know if it's common. I've decided to put it in the script in my fiction, but I wanted to speak about how it is to feel to be a woman, and there's one great difference with men is that we have periods when we are at that age. Anyway, she feels the fact of being a woman at the beginning. She actually is late, if I may say so, at the raising of the colors because of her periods. But at the explanation of taking your pill without interruption, it is true that if you don't stop taking the pill, you don't have your period. So it's less pain in the neck in your life if you don't want to have your period, because it is a hassle. But it's definitely not because she wants to denigrate her femininity. I do that. May say so, not on purpose, but I'm playing with the thing of I'm definitely telling the story of a girl who becomes a beautiful young woman, and definitely a woman and not a boyish kind of woman who joins the army. And I want to say something very feminist about it, is that you can be a beautiful young woman in the army. It's not only in other films or stories or ways of thinking. You picture women that look like men when they want to do the army. Why? Anyway, but she does that. At that moment, she asks for the prescription at her boyfriend because she's going to do the training, actually, So I think it's also physically easier not to be bothered by that, but just for practical reasons. Other question?
Yes, there's someone on this side.
Thank you. A wonderful movie. Two
Thank you.
questions. Could you talk about how you researched the movie, what you did? Did you go to bases or speak to a lot of sailors, Marines? And finally, how did it change in any way your idea about the military, the French military, or the people in it, or, you know, what's your view of it after all this? Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your question. I did do a lot of research because I didn't know nothing about this institution, and I must say that I was very much surprised of how they were very open and willing for us. I'm saying us because now there's like even a guild of writers and military that has been signed in France, so that artists, writers can do research and go on basis more and write stories. Anyway, I did do all this work of research, but I felt always free with the story that I wanted to tell, and they never said anything on the script. I mean, I am telling a romance in the military institution, and I've realized how it wasn't a surprise at all for me. You're saying if it changed my view. I just discovered men and women that are very full of humanity and full of sensibility and poetry even, and they're very delicate people. But technically, I had my military advisor, who's amazingly in the theater tonight. I don't know where he's seated, but he's somewhere over there. And he was here from he was very important for me. Monsieur Nicolas Gervais de Lafont. Voilà. I wrote the script, and then to have access to all the bases, military bases, they advised us to have a military advisor, and so they met us. We met, but the script was already written, and he made room. It was very difficult for him because it was the first time he would work in the movie business. But he had to understand what was a script, which is not easy when you're not in the movie business, and feel the story and accept the story and accept my path, the way I wanted to say it, and then check the realism of everything. And he saw that I had worked before because everything was very precise, but then in the practical way he was absolutely very useful, because every day on the shooting he helped me organize the military scenes and make sure that everything is right, and direct all the other characters when they had to act as military, and he did a formation at my actress, and so that she was in shape, and also Lambert, and I owe him a lot anyway. But the very interesting thing also is once the film was finished, released, and ready to be shown, the French Marine, was not surprisingly, but I was very moved, and that they liked very much the film, and they felt, we did screenings for Marines and on different bases, Brest, Lorient, and Toulon in the south, were major Marine bases, with Marines in the audience, young Marines, and older ones, and a lot of them came to me and say, well, thank you, because I will take my kids to see your movie so that they understand why I'm who I am. And I was very moved by that. And anyway, yeah, and it's a great, strong relationship that I have now with the French Marine, because I've integrated, I don't know if you say that in French, but the reserve, the Marine citizen reservist, reserve of citizenship. Oh, I don't know how you say that. I'm not operational.
You're in the reserve?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm very much linked to them now. Voilà.
Are you doing the training?
I do officer training, and yeah, but that's another story.
We have time for one more question, I think. Right there.
There.
Yes, in the middle.
Yes, hello, thank you. was a beautiful film. I'm wondering whether there was any secondary or tertiary premise or psychological theme as between the mother and the daughter, because in the opening scene, the mother is the focus, and the daughter is metaphorically and literally a lightweight. And at the end, you see the mother is basically a bit undisciplined and slovenly, and the daughter comes into herself as being extremely disciplined.
Right. Well, it's since it's the story of growing up. I mean, you're a woman, I'm a woman. I don't know how is your mother, but I had a very overwhelming mother that took a lot of place in the family, and I felt that if you want to emancipate, is that how you say it? Emancipate? To emancipate yourself when you're a girl, there's a strong thing to deal with your mother, and you have to régler des problèmes, to solve certain problems that you have with your mother. But definitely, the mother is an artist. She's an actress. And her daughter wants order and discipline. That's the contrast. Usually parents who are very like military kind of or disciplined, they have children who want to become artists and actresses or whatever. It's the opposite that I do here, because I felt close to this young girl who's lost at 20, in her 20s. She doesn't know where to go, which studies she has to do, and her mother is an actress, and it's not very reassuring in terms of path, because I think artists, which I am today, are kind of not very reassuring for children. Anyway, this girl is looking for a path, a straight path, and her mother is not very straight in her path. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but definitely the first act of emancipation is cut the link with the mother, I think, when you're a girl. And it's what she does in this opening scene. She just, well, the mother speaks, but she made her decision, and probably for the first time, she took, for the first time, one decision in her life is to do something that her mother doesn't want her to do.
I just want to ask a last question before we leave. Is are you working on another film as a director?
I'm
for now,
writing,
okay.
starting to write, but I'm working on a documentary because I went on le porte-avions de Charles de Gaulle. I don't know how you say that. It's
Aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carrier.
It's not part of my
I
vocabulary.
know. Anyway, we only have one in France, whereas in the States you have many. And it's called Le Charles de Gaulle, and I spent a week there, and so I'm doing a documentary right now on all the young crew that I filmed at work during each of their different jobs, and it's very thrilling to do that. But I'm working on my future film as well.
But as a director.
As a
Okay,
director,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so
very
much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.